Welcome everyone to That Kind of Nerds podcast, a weekly show that tells you what is going on in the nerdy world. Right now, Brian and Josh are both stuck in a theater watching Earth's Mightiest Heroes just on repeat, so it's just you and I this week. So I'll be taking a look at the headlines and letting you know what's going on in the nerdy world. First up is that Nickelodeon has announced a reboot of the show Double Dare. Double Dare features two teams competing to win prizes by answering mind-bending trivia questions. Of course, they also complete messy physical challenges, and in the end have to face an obstacle course consisting of the human hamster wheel, the gigantic mouth, the ringer, and the iconic Double Dare nose. So there's going to be a lot of Nickelodeon slime involved. This is just the latest franchise to get a reboot by Viacom. This is joining MTV's TRL and, of course, the Jersey Shore reboot. So it's in weird company. Double Dare premiered back in 1986 and ran until 1993. It was an extremely popular running game show. It was another reboot, though, however, in 2000. It was short-lived. So this has been done before, but I'm very excited to see what Nickelodeon will do with it now. Turning the question over to you, are you willing to watch this game, or is this way past its prime? Let us know. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones, I have some good news and bad news for you this week. The good news is that George R.R. Martin has finished his newest book, Fire and Blood, which is the comprehensive history of the Targaryen family, and is coming out on November 20th, 2018. The bad news? It's 1,000 years before the events of A Song of Ice and Fire, or as most of you know it, The Game of Thrones. George R.R. Martin has been caught up in all of the HBO prequels for the Game of Thrones and is still working on his book, The Winds of Winter. He said, quote, "No, winter is not coming, not in 2018 at least." So there at least will be a new book. George R.R. Martin's at least working on something. That's always good news. Mark your calendars for November 20th, but unfortunately, Game of Thrones fans, it's just not time to get a new book yet. So almost there. Josh and Brian love the Fox show Lethal Weapon, and they're not the only one. It's actually Fox's highest rated drama, but its lead actor has put its future in jeopardy. According to Dateline, Clayne Crawford, who plays the Navy SEAL turned cop Officer Riggs, has put his show in jeopardy. He's allegedly been emotionally abusive on set, causing cast members and crew members getting uncomfortable and not agreeing to work with him. Not only has this put him in personal jeopardy, it's actually put the show on jeopardy for a pickup for the third season. So if this doesn't go well, they may actually be forging ahead without Crawford playing Riggs, meaning that we're going to be recasting a main character for a huge network show. So I'm very interested to hear what you guys think about this. I know Josh and Brian are going to want to weigh in on this next week, but if you're a fan of Lethal Weapon, I just want to know how this news sits with you. Tell us on our comments on Twitter at ThatKindOfNerd or on Facebook, facebook.com/ThatKindOfNerd. I know that some of you may be listening to this podcast on Spotify, and some of you may even be listening on the free tier. One of the biggest drawbacks listening to Spotify on the free tier is the inability to choose what song you want to play. You have to listen to everything on random. Well, Spotify is making some changes to that problem. They've announced that for their 15 personalized playlists like Daily Mix, Discover Weekly, Release Radar, or Today's Top Hits, you will now have the ability to choose what song you listen to. In total, that's around 750 tracks or 40 hours of music that you now have more control over. Now, again, because Spotify is the largest subscription service, this is putting a lot of pressure on services like Apple and Tidal and Pandora. I guess they're still floating around. Spotify has also built in low data mode called Data Saver, which cuts down on data consumption by 75%. Now, all said and done, advertisements will still run on the free tier of Spotify, which is part of the company's strategy, and it's the way that they're trying to convert people onto premium users. So my question to you is, if you're a free user of Spotify, what's holding you back to paying for the subscription? Is it the platform? Is it the fact that you can deal with advertisements? Or is this actually going to stop you from moving forward and you're going to stay with the free tier? Let us know in the comments on our website, thatkindofnerd.com. I don't know, what kind of week would it be if I didn't have some news about MoviePass? MoviePass has been under a lot of scrutiny recently for privacy and just the way that they're playing with other advertisers and some even recent plan changes. But an auditor came into the platform and said, hey, there's substantial doubt if MoviePass is going to be able to stay in business. As of right now, the report states that it is going to lose $150 million in its current incarnation. So with this report coming out, the CEO of MoviePass said, hey, pay no mind to that. We obviously have different ways of generating revenue, like the fact that we've acquired movie phones. So now we're going to steer customers away from Rotten Tomato and critic reviews and go more onto user reviews. This will help with driving attendance to movies by getting an honest representation of the movies. There's only one problem with that. MoviePass has actually started to buy into some movies and distributing them. So if a review favors a movie that maybe MoviePass owns, you're going to be driving some more traffic to there. So it's a little awkward in that scenario of, can we trust MoviePass's user reviews? Now, we've already talked about that, but there's been some new news developing, and that's the change to MoviePass's plans. So MoviePass used to offer a $10 a month see all you want plan, but now they've made some changes. It is now 4 movies a month for that $10 plus a free iHeartRadio premium subscription, which I'm sure everyone will love to have, he said sarcastically. So now you're only limited to 4 movies a month, which is basically once a weekend. Not that bad, though. All in all, this is still a good value for people who are looking to make the switch over to MoviePass. If you only see 1 movie a week, usually at the weekend, you'll still be able to see a lot of movies that you want. Now, again, you can't see it in IMAX, you can't see it in 3D. It's all just for standard definition, but definitely still worth the value. So go to MoviePass.com, and you can only sign up again for this 4 movie a month plan. But they have said, however, that this is a promotion and that the $9.99 plan that everyone knows and loves may come back. They haven't really said if unlimited movies are coming back. So this is a question that I have. This is a subscription service that used to be all you can eat and is now restricted. Do you think it's still worth the value? Or if you haven't made the jump, will you wait until you see unlimited again? Very curious to hear what you have to think about that. And now for the biggest story of the week, we finally got our first look of Venom in a brand new trailer. And because it's the internet, nerds started fighting about it immediately. There is one camp of nerds that say, hey, this looks fantastic and a true representation of the characters. And the others who say, this looks a lot like Spider-Man 3. And that's not a good thing. We obviously have a lot more to say about this topic, so we'll save it for next week when Brian and Josh are both here so I can get their feedback about the trailer. Finally, guys, before we go ahead and part ways, we are going to be having a discussion about Avengers Infinity War next week. I was actually at the theater today watching it, and Josh was there for his second viewing, and he hasn't left. So we need to hear from you. What do you think about the movie? You can always call us at 484-373-4119, or you can even text that number. We'd love to hear what you thought about the movie, and we are so excited to go ahead and talk about it next week. So thank you so much for making us your walk around your neighborhood or your drive to work, and all 3 of us will be here next week for an incredible episode. See you then.
Well, welcome to the club, 'cause you are that kind of nerd.
Brian and Josh both love the Fox show Lethal Weapon, and they're not the only ones. It's actually Fox's highest rated. Now on for the biggest story of the week. We thought